The alien fox girl who waited for a star that never returned, Kira stood at the edge of the crystal cliff and watched the purple sky turn darker with each passing moment as 3 moons rose slowly above the horizon of her world called Valara Prime. And her large fox ears twitched slightly, catching every small sound from the forest behind her, while her tail swayed gently in the evening wind that carried the scent of luminous flowers blooming in the valley below, and she wrapped her arms around herself, feeling the cold air against her soft fur-covered skin that shimmered with a faint silver glow under the moonlight, and her amber eyes scanned the stars above, searching for that one particular star that used to move across the sky every 14 cycles when he would return to see her. But now it had been 43 cycles since she last saw that moving star, and 43 cycles since she last heard his voice, or felt his warm hand touching her face, or saw his smile that made her heart beat faster than any Valaran heart should beat, and she wondered if he was still alive somewhere among those distant stars, or if something terrible had happened to him out there in the vast darkness of space where humans traveled in, their metal ships exploring worlds they had never seen before and meeting species they had never known existed until they stumbled upon them by accident or by fate. She remembered the day when his ship first landed on Valara Prime 5 cycles before the other humans arrived, and how different everything became after that moment when she saw him step out of his landing craft, wearing that strange white suit with the clear helmet that let her see his face for the first time, and how her tribe had surrounded his craft with weapons raised, ready to defend their territory from this unknown visitor, but he had simply raised his hands, showing he meant no harm, and spoke words in a language none of them understood, but his voice was calm and gentle, and his eyes showed no fear, only curiosity and wonder as he looked at them and their world, and she had been the one chosen by the elders to approach him first because she was young and quick and could run away if he proved dangerous. But when she got close to him and looked into his blue eyes, she felt something strange happen inside her chest, something warm and powerful that made her forget about being afraid and made her want to know more about this strange creature from the stars. His name was Danny Cole, and he was an exploration scout for the Human Federation, and his job was to visit new worlds and make peaceful contact with any intelligent species. He found and report back to his superiors about whether these worlds were suitable for diplomatic relations or trade agreements or scientific research, and he had been traveling alone for many months, searching for habitable planets in this sector of the galaxy, when his sensors detected Valara Prime and its breathable atmosphere, and he decided to investigate, and that decision changed both their lives forever in ways neither of them could have predicted back then, when everything was new and exciting and full of possibilities. Kira learned to speak his language over the following weeks as Danny stayed on Valara Prime and set up a small camp near a village, and every day she would visit him, bringing food from her tribe, showing him the plants and animals of her world, and teaching him about Valaran customs and beliefs, and in return, he taught her about humans and their technology and their history and all the other worlds they had discovered and all the different species they had befriended, and she listened to his stories with wonder and amazement because her people had always believed they were alone in the universe and that the stars were just lights in the sky put there by the ancient gods. But Danny showed her that the stars were actually suns like their own sun, and that each one might have planets orbiting around it, and that some of those planets might have life just like Valara Prime had life, and this knowledge expanded her mind in ways she'd never imagined possible. He told her about Earth and how humans had almost destroyed their own world through wars and pollution and greed, but had somehow managed to survive and learn from their mistakes and unite as one species and reach for the stars and spread across the galaxy, seeking knowledge and friendship with other intelligent beings. And he told her about the cities on Earth, with buildings so tall they touched the clouds, and about the oceans that covered most of the planet, and about the diversity of life forms that existed there, from tiny insects to massive whales. And he showed her pictures on his datapad of all these wonders, and she stared at them for hours trying to understand how such things could exist. And she began to dream about seeing Earth someday and walking through those tall cities and swimming in those vast oceans, and meeting other humans who might be as kind and interesting as Danny was, but the elders of her tribe did not share her enthusiasm for the human visitor, and they grew worried that his presence would bring trouble to their peaceful world, and they demanded that he leave before more humans arrived and tried to take their land or enslave their people or bring diseases that Velerans had no immunity against, and Danny understood their concerns and promised that humans would never harm the Veleran people, and that the Federation had strict rules about respecting the rights and autonomy of all intelligent species. But the elders remained suspicious and gave him an ultimatum: to leave within 10 cycles, or face exile or worse. And Danny had no choice but to comply because he did not want to cause conflict or put Kira or her people in danger. Night before he left, Kira climbed up to the crystal cliff where she could see far across the valley, and the forest and the mountains beyond, and Danny followed her there, and they sat together watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple, and neither of them spoke for a long time because words seemed inadequate to express what they were feeling. And finally Danny broke the silence and told her that he would come back to see her again as soon as he could, that he would convince the Federation to establish peaceful relations with Valara Prime so that humans and Velerans could become friends and allies, and maybe even more than that someday. And Kira wanted to believe him, but she also knew that space was dangerous and that many things could go wrong, and that promises made under 3 moons were often broken by the harsh realities of the universe. He gave her a small device before he left, and showed her how to use it, and explained that it was a communicator that would let her hear his voice, even when he was far away among the stars, and that he would send her messages whenever he could, and that she should look for his ship in the sky every 14 cycles when he would try to return to Valara Prime if his duties allowed it. And then he held her close, and she felt the warmth of his body through his suit and smelled the strange scent that all humans seem to carry, and she pressed her face against his chest and listened to his heartbeat and memorized the rhythm so she would never forget it. And when he finally pulled away and walked back to his ship, she felt something break inside her, and tears ran down her furred cheeks for the first time in her life, because Valerans rarely cried, and she watched his ship rise into the sky on pillars of blue flame and disappear into the darkness above, leaving her alone on the cliff with only his communicator and his promise to hold on to for the first few cycles. Danny kept his promise and sent her messages every few days, telling her about the places he visited and the species he met and the adventures he experienced, and Kira would listen to his voice coming through the small device, and she would smile and feel happy knowing he was safe and that he had not forgotten her. And she would send messages back telling him about life in her village, and about the changing seasons on Valara Prime, and about how much she missed him and looked forward to his return. And these messages became the most important part of her existence, and she guarded the communicator like it was the most precious treasure in the world. Then, after 14 cycles, his ship appeared in the sky exactly as he had promised, and Kira ran to the landing site where he touched down and threw herself into his arms, and they held each other for what seemed like hours. And he told her about the Federation Council and how they were interested in Valara Prime and wanted to send diplomats and scientists to study the planet and establish formal relations. And he told her that he had spoken highly of her people and convinced the council that Velerans were intelligent and peaceful and deserving of respect and protection under Federation law. And Kira felt proud and grateful and hopeful that maybe her world and his world could find a way to coexist peacefully. He stayed for 5 cycles that time, and every day they explored the wilderness together, and he taught her more about human technology and science, and she taught him more about Veleran philosophy and spirituality. And they discovered that, despite being from different worlds and different species, they shared many of the same hopes and dreams and fears, and they talked about what it would be like if she could visit Earth someday, or if he could stay on Valara Prime permanently and make it his home. And these conversations always ended with long silences, because they both knew that such dreams were complicated by laws and customs and the vast distances between stars. When he left the second time, it was harder than the first time, because now Kira knew exactly what she was losing and how long she would have to wait before seeing him again. And the loneliness that followed was deeper and more painful than before, but she ended